quadratic equation, we have something that is very helpful to us called the discriminant. Now, the discriminant of a quadratic equation is that b squared minus 4ac, and it can be used to determine the number of solutions. So let's take a look at how that works. So when I have the equation x squared plus 2x plus 5 equals 0, the discriminant is what's underneath that radical sign. It's just what's underneath the square root symbol there, that b squared minus 4ac. So in this case, I would end up with a negative number here. So a negative, if I have to actually graph that, I would end up with this graph where the parabola does not actually touch the x-axis, so I have 0 x-intercepts. So I don't have any real solutions. And if we think about where this b squared minus 4ac is in the quadratic formula, we need to find its square root. And I don't have a real number square root of a negative, so we're not going to end up having a solution. So no solution. So if my discriminant is a negative, I have no solutions. For this equation, x squared plus 10x plus 25 equals 0, I end up with a discriminant of 0. Now, if we think about the square root of 0, the square root of 0 is 0. There's only one square root. There's not a negative and a positive square root. There's only one square root of that number. So if we think about what the graph would look like, this parabola would touch the x-axis in one spot, which would leave me with one solution. Since there's only one square root of 0, I'm not going to end up adding and subtracting something. I'm just going to add 0, and I'll end up with one solution. Again, we've talked about this as we go along. There can be two solutions, one solution, or 0 solutions to a quadratic equation. And the last possible option that could happen here is I end up with a positive discriminant. We're looking for the square root of a positive number. There are two possible versions of that. On a graph, we would see that parabola cross the x-axis in two places. So we'd end up with two possible solutions. So let's look at some equations and their discriminants and try to determine how many solutions there are. So state the value of the discriminant, determine the number of real solutions of the equation. So I have got this equation here. I've got a equals 3, b equals 2, and c equals negative 3. To find the discriminant, I'm going to use my b squared minus 4ac. So just that piece that's under the radical sign of our quadratic formula. I end up with 40, which gives me two solutions. So state the discriminant and tell me how many solutions there are. 40 is the discriminant, and there are two solutions. From this next equation, notice it's not in ax squared plus bx plus c form, so I'm going to add that 6x to both sides. So I get 12x squared plus 6x plus 9. So I have these values for a, b, and c. When I plug those in, I have negative 396 as my discriminant. So there's my discriminant. The second part of this is how many solutions. Since it's negative, I can't find a negative square root of a number. We don't have a real solution for that, so there's no real solution for this. And the last one we're going to look at, we have 9 minus 18x plus 9x squared. Notice this also is not in ax squared plus bx plus c form, so I need to move things around so it looks like that. So I can get a, b, and c. I'm going to plug in my values, and I come up with a discriminant of 0. We know that there's only one square root of 0, so I'm only going to end up with one solution. So if I can figure out what this discriminant is, that's going to tell me really quickly if there's no solution or only one solution, or if there is possible that two solutions.